Hi, I'm Nicholas McGurr, author of The Afterlife and host for Stories in a Cemetery. You can find all my fiction works with themes of the afterlife on nicholasmcgurr.com. That's NICHOLASMCGIRR.com. As a writer, I do research, and that research is more than likely inside a haunted location or a cemetery. Like you, I'm curious about the afterlife, and always looking for a new topic for my next book. I hope you enjoy this episode of my research as much as I did in using it for my fiction works. Let's get into today's story in the cemetery. Hey guys, welcome to episode 33. This week's episode is a little different as I ran into another paranormal team that was investigating a previous case that I worked on. They got in touch with me about Alice Flagg. So if you don't remember episode 1, head back to episode 1 of the podcast and take a listen to Alice's story. And Josh and Kate from Dream Team Urbex and I discussed some of the evidence that they found because they were actually using gadgets and machinery to try to capture some paranormal activity. Whereas if you remember, I only had Psychic with me as a resource. So take a listen to the interview, but first and foremost, wanted to remind you that merch is available on the website, nicholasmcgurr.com, and we just redesigned some new shirts to actually have Charleston, South Carolina written underneath the Stories in a Cemetery logo. So kind of like a tourist attraction shirt where it has the city and the state written underneath. Similar style, so make sure you check those out. And guys, make sure you're leaving us reviews on your favorite podcatcher, and any type of star review moves us up in the rankings. So right now with the quarantine and, well, it's starting to loosen up, and hopefully the celebrities find something else to do, but they are releasing their own podcasts, and they're pushing guys like me down in the rankings. So make sure you head over to your favorite podcatcher, whatever you're listening to, whether it be iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox, or Anchor, and leave us a review here for Stories in a Cemetery to help others find the show. And don't forget, you can support the show by heading over to buymeacoffee.com and dropping $1 in the coffee pot. It's not a subscription, it's not a per episode, and it's not any kind of monthly bill. It's just $1 in the coffee pot to show me you want the show to continue, and that helps me with the recording costs and updating the equipment and things like that. So guys, I hope you enjoy the interview, and I hope you get something out of it. Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 32. So today's going to be a little bit different. We have an interview today and a little chat about Alice Flagg, and with me today I have Josh and Caitlin. And Josh, why don't you guys, tell us about your group, where you're from, that kind of thing, and let's get this started.
Hi everybody listening, my name is Josh.
I'm Kate.
And we are the Dream Team Urbex. We're originally from Long Island, New York, and we just moved down to North Carolina, and we explore abandoned buildings and do paranormal research all over the East Coast, and that's pretty much it.
Ah, so all over the East Coast, so not just in North Carolina? Like, where else have you guys been?
Like I said, we started in Long Island. We did a few up there, and then when we came down here, we've been in North Carolina, we've been in South Carolina, we have a few lined up in Virginia and a couple down in Georgia as well. So we're starting to move.
Oh, that's cool. How big's your team? Are you guys like from all up and down the coast or all in one location?
Just the two of us.
Just the two of you?
Yeah.
So you guys
for the most part.
You guys need some more folks. The more the better. And the folks that have taken my tour, they'll tell you like the more people you have and the more gadgets that are working, the better off and the more fun it is. So you guys, I'm sure, will pick up a few folks along the way, and you'll run into folks like me that, hey, I'll come along. There's a big community out there, and you guys, I'm sure, already know that. So tell me about something, a location that was specific that kind of stands out in some of your paranormal evidence that you've captured.
My favorite one that I've done so far is this place called Union Cemetery in Long Island. It was before me and Kate were a team. I actually did it with my brother when I was just getting started. And we were just taking pictures, and we had a recorder going. And there was a couple tombstones with my last name on it, Brewster.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, it was interesting. So we were like, oh, is Daniel Brewster here with us? Just asking, whatever we're Brewsters to. And then we actually listened back to the recorder that night. And as soon as we asked that, we just got a clear yup And then we also got a few more EVPs that night. And my brother actually snapped a picture under a tree of like what you could see a silhouette of a lady wearing a white T-shirt and like a skirt.
Wow.
So that was my favorite one that I've done so far. What
So,
about you?
the past couple episodes, I've been talking a lot about different types of gadgets and the machines that we use. You say you caught EVPs. What did you catch that on?
At the time I was using an Olympus voice recorder.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Kind
now
of.
I just use my phone. I use my phone's voice memo, and then we take cameras and stuff like that.
So your Olympus, was it a single track like this guy?
Yes.
Okay, so folks, we're on a Skype, so I'm able to show him exactly which piece I'm using, and that's the VN541 PC. I am going to be upgrading into a 2-track, just because you can actually separate different noises that are coming from two different directions. So if one is coming from the left side or the right side, you can actually pan it and eliminate some of the noise. So if you have a spirit box going, this is something you can analyze even further. So I'm going to be upgrading that. I mean, I don't know. I haven't used one yet to be able to separate, but hopefully in the future I can catch more EVPs. So you guys have revisited kind of my Alice Flagg story, either from my website or my podcast, and you guys were kind of getting interested in that. So how long have you been down here from Long Island?
What's it
Like
been?
six,
6, 7 months?
6 to 7 months.
And how long ago did you hear about Alice Flagg?
Like 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it was my first year of me being in the South too. I'm originally from Ohio, and within my first, I don't know, a couple of months, somebody told me about Alice Flagg, and they didn't even know I was into haunted stuff, and I started diving in, which is how you guys got a hold of me. So, folks, this it's just ironic because I actually have a surprise later because this whole Alice Flagg thing is kind of being rebirthed again, and people are starting to look into it. So, what did you guys you guys went to go investigate, right?
Yeah.
And where did you guys go?
First last weekend, the weekend before last, we went down to All Saints because that was kind of where everybody said it originated from, and then we felt like we needed to go back because our equipment actually stopped working,
Okay.
unbeknownst to us.
Which pieces of equipment stopped working?
So I was doing a spirit box session, and I was taping it with my iPhone, and it just stopped recording it. And I had plenty of space, I had plenty of battery, and I didn't notice at the time because I didn't notice that the square stop button turned into a circle. I just saw that it was still on and still recording, and I thought that it was recording. And then when we went back to watch it, it just cuts off right after I ask a question, and like 20-30 minutes of our investigation is just lost.
Did it pick back up, or did it just stop and it never
Just-
started again?
It just stopped, and then I didn't realize it until we were done, and I looked at it, and I was like, no way was it not recording. And I was like, no, I shut it off. We should be straight. And then we got to the car, and it didn't record any of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So we found our way back last weekend, and we ended up going to a couple different places. After I talked to you and read your blog and everything, we both did some research, and that's what brought us to the Old Gun Church with the bell tower and everything. And we investigated there for a little bit. Couldn't really get in or anything because of the fence and everything.
So just so the listeners know, Old Gun Church is actually a nickname for Prince Frederick Chapel.
There we go.
So if anybody is looking to dive into the Alice Flagg story, Old Gun is going to come up in your research, but it's not going to show up on a map. So you'd have to look for Prince Frederick. Sorry, you can go ahead and continue. So what'd you find when you got to Old Gun?
Well, we found a barbed wire fence and a bunch of cameras. So I talked to you. I got what happened in your experience there, and then we moved back over to All Saints Cemetery, where we conducted another investigation that we got completely on camera this time, and we caught a bunch of things there. And in between Old Gun and All Saints, we did a bunch of research, and we found out the truth about Alice Flagg and which Alice Flagg is where, and the whole family tree. And
so let's go back to some of the evidence for a second. First thing I have to ask you is, did you guys actually do the ritual of walking around the Alice slab stone in the ground?
So I did.
Okay.
I didn't feel anything. I told you in previous conversation, the whole time when you're in there at All Saints, you just feel like you're being watched.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel any different really after walking around the 13 times, and
You did 13?
that's what I've read a bunch. It was
Some
six
said 8,
times.
some said 13, counterclockwise, clockwise.
So I was like, you know what? Let's just do the bigger number. 13, spiritual number somehow.
Did you do it forwards or
didn't really-
backwards?
I think we did both, right? Yeah, I did both.
Okay.
Cover all my grounds.
Right.
Placed the nickel on the slab.
Okay.
She wore a ring. Nothing happened as far as that, as far as the ritual.
Okay, so folks, for those of you that haven't read my blog post on Alice or listened to the podcast, there's a ritual that you're supposed to do around the Alice slabstone at All Saints Cemetery, and I did it just for the sake of doing it because I was on an investigation. And the interesting thing about the difference of our investigations between mine and Josh and Kate's is that I didn't have tools and gadgets. If you recall, and I'll link to in the show notes back to episode 1. But all I had with me was a psychic, and the psychic was my tool. I had no other gadgets. So this is super interesting to me that you guys say you found paranormal evidence. So what did you find?
We had a ton of responses on my SB7 spirit box.
Okay.
Everything from, hey, are you here with us? Yes. And then I even at one point I say, Alice, are you here with us? And I got a yes, hi.
Oh,
And
okay.
Yeah. Then there's a couple times where I was asking for her brother Allard, who's buried there along with all of him and Penelope's kids. And I was like, Allard, are you still here with us? I didn't get anything for that question. But then right after I said, are you still holding your sister back? Or something along the lines, are you still controlling your sister? And he said, yes, I hate her.
Oh, wow. And
In a
you
male
got that on
voice.
an EVP?
It's on the spirit box, and I have the video of the spirit box session. So
Okay, that'd be really cool to actually post up on the blog post of like a part 2 for Alice Flagg. So obviously, you sent me a video earlier today. Why don't you talk about that piece? And I'm not going to play it here on the podcast, folks, just because it's a spirit box and that static coming through it can be a little annoying if you're listening to this in the car. So I will post this on the new blog post for part 2 of Alice Flagg. So tell us a little bit about what you guys found with the video you sent me.
Okay, so we were doing a spirit box session completely on the other side of the cemetery, apart from where the Alice slab is.
Okay.
Because we had set up a flashlight and my camera rolling on the flashlight just to try out a flashlight test, and then we left that just to leave it alone. And we did a bunch of questions, we got a bunch of responses, and it was starting to get darker. Probably 20 minutes had passed, so we were like, you know what? Let's go back and see what's happening. At that moment, I saw a couple lights in the distance, so I had Kate stop recording me, take pictures. She started recording again as we're walking back towards Alice, and I was like, I'm gonna keep this rolling just in case you guys want to talk to us while we're headed back over there.
Mm-hmm.
And not through the spirit box, but through the camera's audio, you can hear what I think is a child or something kind of like whispering to somebody, like another child, hey, they're trying to talk to us, or they're trying to speak to us.
Okay, so Kate, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I heard it, and the second he showed it to me, I like ripped the headphones out of my ear. It was literally like a little child was talking to me. It was so scary.
So did it freak you out a little bit?
A little bit, yeah, just because we didn't hear it on the spirit box. It was directly like in the phone's audio, so it was kind of creepy how like we caught it.
Interesting. So,
Yeah, like we didn't hear it while we were walking over there or anything. And I was sitting, it was right before I talked to you for the first time on the phone. I was sitting outside of my backyard just reviewing the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm listening for like the spirit box, and I hear this weird whisper, and I ran inside, and I'm like, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. This wasn't you. You're not a little kid, so you got to hear this. And then she was like, oh no, rip that out. She was like, get away from me.
well, Kate, isn't that what you guys were after? Was some EVPs and a little bit of paranormal evidence? Did you think you weren't going to get anything?
This one felt different.
Different
if
how?
that makes sense. So the first time we went, we spent our time there. We were taking pictures, but I feel like it kind of like I guess maybe her spirit or something kind of like attached to Josh, like maybe made it like personal or something.
Okay. Did you guys happen
Like,
to smell anything when you guys were at All Saints?
No, not really. Um, Nothing that really caught my eye. I've read that you're supposed to smell like flowers and such,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really smell any.
So I'll tell you that while I was there, I did smell flowers, but the psychic smelled something, and I think the word he used was putrid. And it turns out that Alice's lover was a turpentine salesman.
Hmm.
And this was simultaneously. So while I'm smelling something sweet and flowery, he was smelling something that was burning his nose.
Mm.
So that was an interesting take that we had while we were there. But you guys dove in a little bit further than I did with some of the Alice, I guess the legend, and there was two different Alices, is that right?
Yeah, so let me pull up my family tree I made up here.
Nice
Uh,
research.
So Ebenezer and Margaret were the Alice of the legend. That was her parents. They had Allard, which was Alice's brother, and then Alice. Alice died at 15.
Okay.
Well, Allard married Penelope, and they had a daughter the year after his sister Alice died, and she was born on October 21st, 1850 to March 3rd, 1935, and she was 84.
Oh, okay.
So the Alice of legend is apparently buried in an unmarked grave somewhere in Charleston. I don't remember the name of the plantation it is.
Okay.
And then Allard's Alice is the one that's buried at Old Gun.
Huh. Interesting. So, guys, I actually have something that kind of lines up with that, and that's why I say it's so interesting. But first, we're going to take a quick sponsor break. And we're back, guys. Thanks so much for allowing me to put sponsors in the middle of the show. It definitely helps move things along for Stories in the Cemetery. So, Josh, I just sent you over a picture. Why don't you go ahead and take a second and get to it and tell me what you see on this picture. This was sent to me anonymously. I have no idea who sent it to me. I have no idea who this person was. It was in an email. And, of course, you can get to me via email through my website. But when I tried to respond to the person back, I got one of those errors that said that this email address doesn't exist. So somebody did some research and did some extra diving in. So tell me what you see on the picture and see if it lines up with your story.
So what we have here looks to be a gravestone reading Alice Boleyn Flagg, October 21st, 1850 to March 3rd, 1935, which is what I found in my research here in my family tree. And people are going to say, oh, Alice Boleyn Flagg is the one of legend. Well, Allard's middle name was also Boleyn, and so was a bunch of other people in the Flagg family. And it seemed as if they kind of just kept that middle name for almost everybody, and they also recycled the name Allard and Alice a few times throughout the history of their family tree, from what I could find.
So what do you think of the legend now? Is it a legend, or is the places that you and I have both been to, are they truly haunted? And what are your thoughts?
I think that All Saints definitely has some spirits there. Do I think that there was this whole love story and everything? No, I don't. I think that part is maybe legend. I do think that Allard had a sister named Alice who died, and at 15 from malaria, and she's not buried at All Saints under that concrete slab, because if you check the records from All Saints, there's nobody buried underneath it. It's just kind of a commemorative thing.
So one of the things that the psychic told me at both locations was a quote, and he said it came with laughter. It was fun as a front. So do you think maybe the family was just putting the Alice slab at All Saints just to have some kind of closeness to the family while they actually buried her somewhere else?
I think so. I think so many people were going to, I guess, kind of pay their respects.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they moved her later on or if they had done it from the start, but if you see, at All Saints, Alice is, the
Slab.
slab.
Yeah.
It's so worn down because so many people go there every day just to walk around it.
Yep.
That's what I would do. I would have it, people can still pay their respects, but I wouldn't want something to happen where, grave robbers or someone gets way too into the story and, destroys something.
I have to assume that the picture that was sent to me was taken from Old Gun or Prince Frederick Chapel, just because, there's no record of Alice Boleyn Flagg anywhere else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have to assume that somebody got in somehow, took a picture, and was like, oh, let's get to this guy because he's actually after the truth, and let's see if he can, make anything out of it. I was super surprised to see it because, again, when I was there, I didn't, jump over the fence or look for any holes to get in. I was very interested in the chapel and took lots of pictures, and then, whatever the psychic was, there to tell me. Because the point of this, project for me was to prove a psychic's ability.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested to send him this picture now to see what he thinks. I mean, even though that was a long time ago for us, I'm sure he remembers investigating this with me. And again, it just goes to show, like, if you play the game of telephone, how far, a rumor can go. She was 15, she was 84, whatever the case may be, and how a legend can go. But what's funny is in the Myrtle Beach area, if you go, like, them, like, tour guide, coupon books, like, welcome to our new city kind of thing, they put those legends of Alice Flagg in there. And
Really?
Yeah, like it's a local legend that they love to share, and the fact that there's so many different pinpoints of it. If you go to Myrtle Beach, one of the things you hear about is Alice Flagg, and the other is the Gray Man. And the Gray Man isn't even really part of Myrtle Beach; he's a little further south. But those are the two legends that you can pretty much find in any Grand Strand ghost story book or anything dealing with the paranormal in Myrtle Beach. That's why I was wondering how you two had heard of it in the past and why it intrigued you so much to try to find more info.
Yeah. I kind of just came across it because we were headed down there to do a couple other places, and I found it, and I was like, oh, that'd be interesting to do, so let's do it. And then, like Kate said earlier, the first time we went there, I just felt this need to just find out more. Like, even when we left, I was like, I kept saying over and over, I feel like we're not finished here. Like, I feel like we need to go back at whatever point we can and then just find out some answers to what is really going on with the whole Alice Flagg situation.
And again, I think, between you and I and kind of putting our heads together, we've pretty much debunked the legend. At least the tale of, she fell in love, she wore the ring around her neck, she came back home, her father was angry, he threw the ring into the ocean, and now Alice's ghost is wandering around,
looking for a ring.
Exactly. And again, I think you're absolutely right with both locations being haunted. I haven't been back there with equipment since I started Stories in a Cemetery as a ghost hunting thing without the psychic. And I'd love to go back, but as you know, I live in Charleston, and that could be quite the hike since I'm investigating so much down here. So eventually one day I will probably head back to both All Saints and Old Gun and run my normal techniques with my gadgets and get temperature checks and all of those things, EVPs and spirit box, get everything going just like I normally do. And in the event that I do go, of course, I'll be giving you a call to see if you'd like to meet.
Yeah, we definitely come down again.
So, have you guys looked into anything here in Charleston?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well,
I've been so busy with Alice Flagg, I forget to breathe sometimes.
I know. And once you get involved with one project, it's kind of hard to break away from it. So, guys, this has been really cool. I really appreciate you guys coming on. So why don't you tell the folks where they can catch some of your evidence in picture format?
You can find us on Instagram at Dream Team Urbex. That's Dream Team URBEX. And then we also post videos on YouTube on my channel, Josh Breezy.
Awesome. So, guys, I will put links in the show notes for Josh and Kate's links to their social media. And again, if you are in, which part of North Carolina are you in?
We're in Fayetteville.
Fayetteville. So if any of you are in Fayetteville and are looking to join a team, and learn more about equipment, or have your own equipment that you can contribute to Josh and Kate, I'm sure they would appreciate the help. Go ahead and reach out to me through my website, and I will put you in touch with them, or you can get in touch with them through their social media. So guys, this has been wonderful. Thanks so much for coming on, and let's see what we can come up with in Charleston, or maybe meet halfway somewhere. Thanks guys for coming on.
No
Thank
problem.
So I hope you really enjoyed the interview with Josh and Kate with Dream Team Urbex. I'll make sure I put the links in the show notes for their social media and their YouTube videos. But again, lots of fun I had with those guys. I'm actually meeting up with them this weekend to kind of cover some equipment things and to maybe investigate a whole new location. So if we come up with any evidence, I'll make sure to make that a separate podcast episode of what we find, because of course I'll be recording everything. Guys, just a couple quick announcements. Just wanted to let you know, looks like we are going to be opening up Stories in the Cemetery's ghost hunting experiences very, very soon. So if you haven't done so already, head over to Groupon. They have the best deals right now. Type in Stories in the Cemetery for Charleston, South Carolina, and you can find tickets to us pretty cheap. I'm recording this while I'm actually out running some errands. So pardon me if I'm trying to remember everything. I want to thank the folks for buying me a coffee over the past few weeks. So the two anonymous supporters, thank you. I will keep you anonymous, of course. And Brandon, thank you for your generous donation and supporting this show. Guys, helping the show definitely helps keep things rolling for Stories in the Cemetery, and shows that you would like me to continue the show. I know I get a lot of folks that are just looking for my research for The Secret, which is perfectly fine. Those are bonus episodes. Those are thank yous that you can only get on buymeacoffee.com, and of course there's always a link in the show notes if you'd like to support the show. So again, guys, with everything that's going on with COVID-19, make sure you check out charlestoncavaliertours.com for some of the guidelines that we're going to be following with our tours. Masks are going to be required. Oh, and speaking of which, found a super cool website. If you've been having trouble getting masks, like I had, I don't know how many Amazon orders that were canceled. I found a super cool website called thesmilecovers.com. Make sure you put in the word "the," because if you don't, you head over to a phone case website. But thesmilecovers.com, these are custom-made masks, triple layered, 3 different sizes, comfortable ear loops, and you can customize the outer pattern. Like I have some with some cemetery tombstones and ghosts, and some pumpkins, and I ordered a bunch that, they were themed for my tours. But there's all kinds of themes on there. The masks are on, I believe, like $10 to $15, very affordable, especially if you've been having a hard time getting masks through sites like Amazon or any other custom site. And I see a lot of, makeshift masks out there, but this is a really good quality. They're hand sewn, and they're, the sewing is top notch. But I believe, like I said, they're about $10 to $15, thesmilecovers.com. So make sure you check that out. But anyway, on the tours, masks are going to be encouraged. I will be wearing a mask, and of course, we'll be providing any kind of hand sanitizer, and I will be cleaning and disinfecting all of the equipment before every single tour. And with the tours now coming up, my thermal imaging camera is here. Yes, I've been playing with it for the past 2 days, learning more about thermodynamics. And if you're unsure what that is, go back a few episodes. You can listen to the podcast episode for that. But again, guys, want to thank you all for listening to this interview. If you have a paranormal group and you have done some pretty cool research with some evidence, I'd love to interview you for the show. So get a hold of me. Go to nicholasmcgurr.com, hit the Tell Me a Ghost Story tab, and tell me that you would like to be part of the show. I'd like to do an interview at least once a month with a group. This was a lot of fun. And, speaking with Kate and Josh, I'm going to be meeting up with them soon. So, building up that community right here in South Carolina. Even if you're not from South Carolina, I'd love to talk to you and get some, input from you of haunted locations in your area. And, guys, thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you in about a week or so. Thanks so much for listening to today's Story in a Cemetery. Be sure to check out the show notes with pictures and bonus audio sections on nicholasmcgurr.com. As you know, I'm a writer, and now you have another story that inspires me to write my fiction works. Be sure to share this episode on your social media or leave me comments on the Stories in a Cemetery Facebook page. I'll see you next time with another Story in the Cemetery.